O depths of the wealth and the wisdom and the knowledge of God! How inscrutable his judgments, how unsearchable his ways! For who ever understood the mind of the Lord? Who has ever been his counselor? My brethren, we are on the receiving end. The word worship, analyzed, means the creature recognizing the worth of his creator. Before majesty, before creative power, before essential goodness and generosity, he recognizes his truth. I was not, I am, and I will be forever. I was invented for ecstasy and bliss from nothing. So all is gift. My role, therefore, is to return this in a perpetual mode of praise. Thanksgiving 24/7. What do we actually find on the earth? Complaints. It's not fair. God could never get it right. We can, can't we? My friends, it would be well on this day just to pause and to see where we're at. First of all, with regard to this issue of gratitude, is it my mode? But then also with my modality within my existence. For coming from essential love, there are consequences. Beside me, I have this icon. It's actually a real one. The proof is that you can see that the ancient wood has been damaged in taking it away from Holy Russia. The Russians allowed their icons to come out of the country. The Greeks are less allowing. They belong to their culture. This has been prayed before with much incense by our brethren in the East. The praise that they offer to the unutterable Godhead suggests something of that majesty. They are lost in unmeasured time. They go into a mode of disappearing. None of our attention seeking there. In fact, their participation is nearly entirely internal. Its expression is spontaneous, touching the floor, kissing the icons, but essentially it's penitential. They stand for 3 hours, and it happens over their heads. My friends, we need to look therefore at 2 things I would suggest on this day. Am I coming from that atmosphere, which is an atmosphere of generosity and love, remembering the nature of this font of Godhead, what we call the circum-in-session, a continuous movement of internal life, which is actually a third person. So much love between Father and Son that it is also a person. And that person is in us too, as long as we don't push him away by mortal sin. We can claim also the centuries. The East and the West have their living icons, people who understood something of what God was and the consequences of understanding it. A great cloud, martyrs, monks, priests, confessors, hermits, recluses, who all went into the beyond, having used the gift of life well. In England, for quite a long time, a young girl would have the option of not entering a convent, but entering a reclusory. They were all over medieval England. It was an option which was radical. The bishop would bury the candidate as it were alive. The door of the reclusory was sealed until death, and the opening that the Virgin had was towards the Blessed Sacrament, for she was walled at that end of the church. You can see it if you visit Norwich to this day. So that it was a living lamp of praise and love while the world slept and sinned, adoring and loving Jesus, the centre of the world. And the other door, it wasn't a door at all, it was just a niche with a grate, a grata, a grill, and covering the nun's face, that is, covering the grill, a black veil with a cross on it. So the face was not seen, but she could give a word of wisdom. I want to go back to the other side, the other, which was opened on the Blessed Sacrament. The Blessed Trinity invented a means to have something of heaven on earth. We, in the Catholic Church, the Latin Rite, have developed it far more than in the East. They have it in the East, but they haven't developed the devotion to the Blessed Sacrament reserved. It's there, but behind the holy doors. We have. And we have done it under the inspiration of the Holy Ghost. Specifically, this week, we will think of that. On Thursday, we will have here Corpus Christi. We will do what the Lord specifically wanted, outside the context of tragedy and pain of Holy Week. We will honour the Lord as the triumphant King of glory on earth and render unto him his social rights. With that, if you want to, you can come with your own homegrown petals. You can ask the Lord to also provide sunlight and sunshine, because in Ireland that cannot be depended on. But it'll happen nevertheless. In church, without petals in that case, but it'll happen, for old Nick will not have his way. Now, I want to pause here for a second. The devil knows this, so he's attacking full on the Blessed Sacrament. But he's not getting away with it so easily as he thinks. This week, I was in a deanery meeting. Duleek is a deanery because of its history. So the priests of the area were there, and we were sharing. And you know that out of that little assembly of local priests, a few things came unexpectedly. Stories of how the Lord had intervened to protect the Blessed Sacrament. I had mentioned to the present priest of Rathkenny how his predecessor, whom I know well, had been there and was in his front room, I think, saying Compline. And something in his heart said, go and check the church. But because it was so clear, he did so. He went in, there was a body in the church. It was our friend Pat Cullen, who was a holy man. And he thought, there's nothing strange. But just to check, he went round the church. Wow! The whole church was about to catch fire. The boiler was taking fire. And it was a fairly fragile church, modern as it was, easily burnable. And at that point, a couple of others were piping up with other churches in the diocese where somehow, after this time malicious incendiary devices, the priest had been alerted by a prompting. to go to the church for no reason. And 2 churches in the last year or so have been saved because the priests involved in this diocese have listened to the prompting of the Holy Ghost, protecting the Lord of Glory, who depends on us to do so. I know someone who in church was there and coming back from communion heard this: "Look behind you." And that person did. And the person behind was putting the Blessed Sacrament in his pocket. And with unexpected bravery, that person challenged him and insisted that the host be given back, and it was saved. You too may be prompted to look carefully in local churches to see if there are any hosts on the ground. It is happening also, especially when there are large numbers of people and young people and school children. The Blessed Sacrament, remember, is each minimal parcel, the real presence. Some years ago, there was a priest, a young, withered priest, who was taking Holy Communion to a sick person. He went into the tabernacle, did what he had to do normally, but then, because it was dark enough for him to see, he was in his car and he was shocked. Do you know what he saw? He happened to see in the dark, in his fingers, which had touched the sacred presence in the tabernacle and in the host, as many bright rays of light as there were particles in his fingers. Do you know what he did? He eventually had the courage to make it known to his parishioners this: although the Church currently authorises receiving Holy Communion in the hand, I have my reasons for having hesitations about it henceforth. And he made his desire known. I know also on the grapevine that fair play for them here in Navan, which is a huge parish, I think it's the biggest in the diocese. The parish priest, whom you know well, has had the courage to insist that henceforth, at First Holy Communion, the sacred host be given only on the tongue. God bless him. Now, to return to where I started, this is what we're handling. The Blessed Trinity has found an ingenious mode of extending his love to earth. The sacred host is the sun. All the angels, as at knock, are hovering around it, non-stop. We can't hear their chant, but we can imagine it, the thrice holy. And we are called to do the same thing in our worship. That has concrete consequences, e.g., complete silence in the house of God, before, during and after. Getting on time, it's called the immediate preparation, so as to be in mode already. Dressing, especially on the Lord's Day, in a festive way, because we're body and soul. There's a question mark over wearing jeans in church on a Sunday, and certainly over wearing immodest clothing for a woman. And with regard to women, why not? A dress rather than casuals. It honours physically. As for men, shaving, getting one's hair done properly, it's all physical, rendering glory unto God. And all our gestuality must be worthy of the angels who cannot do what we are doing, and ask us humbly to do it well. We have a beautiful liturgy in both the old and the new rite. It's the same Holy Mass, but we have to use what's there. I conclude, my friends, avoid getting caught up in useless debates. Just do it. Wherever you are, you can do it. The children of Fatima were taught to do it, with their foreheads to the ground, adoring the Blessed Trinity, and making reparation to the use of the presence. You can do it wherever you are, and if you want to, you will make time to do it in adoration. or in your room at home, the stated scriptures. I conclude, my friends, we will be examined on the way we handle our God. It's known that the priest in particular has a very rough time if he's handled badly his own Creator, from whom he's come and who he has to handle with the greatest love possible on earth.